Hello again, gamers. Welcome back for the first episode of Grokking Battletech. I'm the board game captain, and today I'm going to be doing a tactical deep dive and showing you how to grok the Awesome. Now, the Awesome is the one mech that makes you technically wrong whenever you refer to any other mech as awesome, so that someone else on game night can say, that's not an awesome, this is an awesome. So, before we get started, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain, and Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. There's also a link to my Teespring store if you want to get yourself some cool gamer gear, some Board Game Captain merch, link in the description down below. And also, there is a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. All right, now let's get into the Awesome. So, the first version of the Awesome is the AWS 8Q. Now, the AWS 8Q came out in the late Star League era, so it was used in a few of the conflicts in the late era, including, of course, the Amaris Civil War, but then also was used through all of the Succession Wars. So the AWS 8Q, the original version of the Awesome, what is it known for? So the first thing it's always known for is having 3 PPCs. And 3 PPCs on a mech of this era is quite powerful. In addition, it has a small laser. It's one weapon for short range use because of the minimum range of the PPCs. Nothing really to crow about there. But the armor on this mech is absolutely fantastic. So you have more than 20 armor on every front location. 24 on the arms, 24 on the side torsos, 30 on the center torso, and 33 on each leg. Meaning that a hit from an autocannon 20 to the front will be completely survivable and won't even get through to your internal structure everywhere but the head. The head is the only place you would have to worry because no mech has that much armor on its head. But even on the rear, the Awesome has a fair amount of armor. The Awesome has 10 armor on each side torso rear and 19 on the center torso, which is actually pretty high. Now, this is an 80-ton mech. It is an assault mech. It is a big beast. You expect it to have a lot of armor. You expect it to have a lot of firepower. But this is even a large amount of armor for the tonnage of this mech and the era that it was in. Now, in regard to speed, it's pretty average for an assault mech. We have a walking speed of 3 and a running speed of 5, which is slow. This is very slow for a mech, but it is on par with most assault mechs. Most assault mechs do have a walking speed of 3 and a running speed of 5. So it is on par with other mechs of its size category. Now, in regard to ammo, because this mech has a full energy weapon armament, there is no running out of ammo. So no matter how long the fight goes, no matter how big the battle, even if you're doing 3 lances on 3 lances, and this is one of the mechs to survive the entirety of the battle, you don't have to worry about ammo. Not worrying about ammo means you also don't have to worry about ammo explosions. So especially in the Succession War time period where ammo explosions can mean certain death, this is a big plus for the AWS 8Q. Never running out of ammo and never having to worry about getting hit with a critical hit in an ammo compartment. Now, heat is one of the areas that there is a little trouble in paradise with this mech. It's one of its few problem areas along with its speed, and that's because it has 28 single heat sinks. Now, 28 is a lot, but the thing is, the 3 PPCs generate 10 heat each, meaning even if you're standing still, over time, you will be building up heat. But it's not that bad. All you have to do is fire all 3 PPCs, and every once in a while, stop firing one of them. And you'll get some of that heat back. I mean, at certain key moments in the battle, it could become a bit of a pain. But even if you are dealing with an even larger battle than lance on lance, if you're doing 2 lances or even 3 lances, it's not so bad because if the Awesome's lance finishes off the lance they're facing and he needs time to move over and get into firing position again to try to join the fight against another enemy lance, it gives him time to cool off. Fortunately, though, also for the AWS 8Q, they do have 4 of their heat sinks in their legs, so a nice little trick with this is to sit your Awesome in a lake and double the heat reduction capacity of those 4 heat sinks. So not too bad if you can find a waist-deep lake to park in and just play a little bit of turret tech. Another good thing to do with this awesome is to park in a heavy forest and just play turret tech, because the heavy forest will of course reduce the accuracy of incoming fire. But since you're not moving anymore, you will reduce the heat you're taking by a little bit each round, and then also will not be reducing the accuracy of your own fire when you're returning fire against your enemies. So, all right, now it's time to talk about variants, and there are a ton, and I do mean a ton of variants for the awesome, because this is generally seen as a workhorse assault mech, a very venerable design that has been redesigned many times for different purposes. So now the AWS 8Q is classified as a sniper mech because of its long-range direct fire capacity with its PPCs. Some of the versions actually change the role though. So the first variant I want to talk about is the AWS 8R. Now the AWS 8R is another Star League era design, and this is a complete redesign of the standard awesome. The particle projector cannons are completely replaced with a new weapons loadout. They do hold on to the small laser, but instead of having the 3 PPCs, we have 2 LRM-15s and 1 large laser, basically turning what was a sniper mech into a missile boat. This is not a bad design, but to be honest, I would rather have a catapult to do what this mech does, because the catapult is far more maneuverable, and I'd rather have the large number of medium lasers versus the 1 large laser. But there are uses for it. It's not a bad design. Otherwise, it's pretty much very similar to the AWS 8Q in regard to strengths and weaknesses. Now, next we have the AWS 8T. This is a Succession War redesign, where it is an upgrade of the previous mech, the 8R. So the 8T is a 2 LRM-15, 2 large laser mech. This one's a bit better. I like this one a bit more, but it does have a bit of a problem with heat consumption because it only has a total of 23 heat sinks, and with the 2 LRM-15s and the 2 large lasers, we get into the area of occasionally having to not fire some of its weapons again because it will overheat on the battlefield, just like the original 8Q. But otherwise, this is actually a pretty decent mech. 2 large lasers and 2 LRM-15s in the Succession War time period makes a great missile boat mech with lots of firepower, and I would take this one over a catapult. So I do like the 8T. Now the next awesome we have is the AWS 8V. V as in Victor. Now this mech again returns to the sniper role, and this is another Succession War redesign. So it has the small laser of all the other previous designs, but it has 1 LRM-15, 1 large laser, and 1 PPC. So a bit of a mix of the previous designs of mechs, a weird kind of hodgepodge. It's very varied in its firepower. You can throw missiles at your enemy, you can throw lasers at your enemy, you can throw particle projector cannons at your enemy. But it's kind of unfocused. It feels like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. I'm not a huge fan of this mech. If you like this mech, the 8V, feel free to comment down below. But this is one that I personally just don't use. Now, let's move forward in the time period a little bit. We're going to move into the clan invasion time period. So the first mech I want to talk about in regard to the awesomes in the clan invasion time period is the AWS 9M. M as in Mike. Now, this mech is sped up. We go from the older mechs of having a 3.5 to a 4.6 on its movement, which is, pretty decent. They're able to achieve this with an XL fusion engine. We also have double heat sinks, which bring 20 double heat sinks, bring the heat capacity of this mech all the way up to 40. That is 40 heat capacity, but it needs it. And the reason it needs it is while retaining the small laser, the rest of the weapon systems have a thorough overhaul. So we have a medium pulse laser, which throws out 4 heat. We have a streak SRM-2, which when it hits, throws out 2 heat. And we have 3 ERPPCs, which have 15 heat apiece. Now, ERPPCs, the extended range particle projector cannons, First off, it brings your maximum range all the way up to 23, which is huge, but also it gets rid of the minimum range that normal PPCs have. Because remember, PPCs have a max range of 18 and they have a minimum range of 3. Extended range PPCs bring it all the way up to 23 with no minimum range. So now this mech is a fantastic all ranges fighting machine. It can really, really engage from long all the way down to short range. And then we have a second S-Streak SRM2 on the left arm there. The first one, by the way, was on the center torso. So it gives you a little extra firepower in the short range. This is a fantastic mech, really good. Still not my favorite, actually, but a really good variant. The next mech I want to talk about is the awesome AWS 9 Mike Alpha. Now, this is a drone-controlled mech created by the Kaptain Confederation. Very similar. It's got 3 ERPPCs, a Guardian ECM suite, and a small laser. So a bit undergunned versus the 9 Mike. I prefer the 9 Mike to this one. Not really much else to talk about there. Next, we have my favorite of the Clan Invasion era mechs, and probably my favorite of all of the awesomes, because I generally prefer earlier time period mechs because you can use them in more time periods. And that is the AWS 9Q. Q like Quebec. So the reason I like this mech so much is down to just having a heavier loadout of PPCs. So you have the small laser, you have a Guardian ECM suite for a bit of defense, and you have 4, count them, 4 PPCs, 1 in each arm, 1 in each side torso. This thing can rain down death from afar. We're talking 40 damage at range. And again, max range of 18 on those PPCs. Yes, you give up the extra little boost of range that you get from the ER PPCs, as well as having the minimum range again. But this thing with its double heat sinks and a 38 heat sink capacity only has, again, a minor issue with heat, basically on the same level as the 8Q, where occasionally you have to not fire one of its PPCs, but then you're still firing 3 PPCs, which means even when it's trying to cool down, even when it's trying to recoup some of that gained heat, you are as capable as the original Awesome, which was, again, originally seen as one of the best mechs of the Succession War period. So yeah, this mech is fantastic. Absolutely love the 9Q. And the thing is, it can be used in the Clan War period, it can be used in the Civil War period, it can be used in the Jihad era, and it can be used in the Dark Ages, because this one came out during the Clan Invasion time period. It can be used in a lot of time periods. Really fantastic mech. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is the AWS KM, or Kilo Mike. Now, the AWS KM was introduced in the Civil War time period. So now, the only reason I don't like this one better than the previous mech we just talked about, the 9Q, is simply that you can't use it in as many time periods. But otherwise, this is a phenomenal mech. So taking advantage of some technological upgrades that came about during the Civil War era time period, this mech mounts 2 heavy PPCs, which is huge, a snub-nose PPC, and a Guardian ECM suite, again, for a little bit added defense. We're back down to the 3-5 movement with both of the previous mech and this mech. So we're back down to the older period speed. But these heavy PPCs, we're talking 15 damage from each at range. It's the same damage potential as a Gauss rifle at a range of 18. A lucky shot from one of these 2 PPCs can blow the head and cockpit completely off an enemy mech and eliminate a threat before they even make it into range. And that's why this mech is so amazing. And then once they get close, you have that snub-nose PPC at close range doing another 10 damage to really, really equalize that threat for other assault mechs coming in at you. It's got 36 points of heat capacity thanks to its double heat sinks, which is pretty decent. However, when you are firing both heavy PPCs, you're going to be fine. But when something gets in close and you are firing both heavy PPCs and the snub-nose PPC, this one has a real problem with heat, because we are talking about 40 heat even if you didn't move. That 36 heat capacity is not really going to cut it when something gets in close range. But the good news is, when it's at long range, you're going to be at 0 heat the whole time. So you're not going to heat up until something tries to close the distance with you, and then hopefully takes that snub-nose PPC to the face. Next one I want to talk about is the AWS 11H, H as in hotel. So this is a version of the Awesome using some clan spec endo steel, because later on, of course, being able to take over and use some of the clan technology is more common. And this version of the Awesome carries count them, three heavy PPCs. And with the amount of heat it has, it can basically fire them continuously. And that is pretty freaking awesome. The AWS 11H is, it's a mixed tech mech. So you have to be allowing mixed tech mechs in your games. And it is a fairly late era mech. So you're only going to use it in stuff really from the Jihad or the Dark Ages. But it is a very powerful mech. 3 heavy PPCs is insane. Next, we have the AWS 11M. M is in Mike. Now, the AWS 11M is a radical redesign on the Awesome, and it is, again, another late era mech that was introduced all the way in 3079, making it a late Jihad era mech. You can only use it in late Jihad era games or in Dark Ages games. So it's very restrictive in your time periods, which is one of the few reasons why this is not going to be one of my favorite versions, but it is really cool, and it is very effective if you're playing those time periods, because it has 8 light PPCs. Now, light PPCs do 5 damage apiece, but that is a lot of weapons doing 5 damage apiece, and half of them, 4 of them, have PPC capacitors on them, so every other turn you can charge them up so that then you could fire and do 10 damage with 4 of those light PPCs. This is an insanely interesting and different design. Really, really cool if you're going to be playing in one of the later time periods. Next, I want to talk about the AWS 11R. Now, the AWS 11R was developed in 3133, and it is a high-tech variant that is protected by stealth armor, as well as continuing to have a Guardian ECM suite. And instead of having the normal weapon loadout, this one is another radical redesign. In addition to the experimental tech, it's got a light Gauss rifle, an LRM-15, an extended LRM-15, and a ER medium laser. It's got an interesting variety of weapons. I am a fan of light Gauss rifles, but generally speaking, compared to the other versions from the late time period, this is probably my least favorite. So not a big fan of the 11R, and the 11 Victor is an alternate version of the 11R that uses mostly direct fire weaponry. Now, moving on, we've got a bunch of custom variants here. Now, one of my favorite custom variants specifically is the AWS 9Q Clat. So this is a version where it has again, the 4 PPCs that I like on the 9Q. The small laser, but this one has a C3 slave unit. So if you're looking to make a C3 network, this is a fantastic mech to do it with, because again, it's got incredible firepower and it can really benefit from those C3 networks. In addition, there is an 8Q Buck, which is a standard awesome that was modified by Major Buck Trip of the Thumpers, and it carries 3 standard PPCs, but uses an XL gyro and an XL engine to reach a higher speed. It removes 12 heat sinks and upgrades the remaining to double strength heat sinks. So this is just an overall better upgrade of the 8Q, bringing it forward into the clan invasion time period. It is a custom variant, but of course, remember, with all these custom variants, any of your mech warriors could have done a custom variant to copy these other ones that they hear about that are out there. The next one is the AWS 8Q Smith, which is the personal mech of Black Omen Commander Captain Richard Smith. So this one was refitted with clan tech. So now again, this is one you'd have to be using rules to allow mixed tech mechs, because it is an inner sphere mech with clan technology on it. So it has replaced its normal PPCs with 2 clan tech ER PPCs, which, remember, in addition to extra range, have extra damage because they're clan tech, and an Ultra Autocannon 5. This is a really, really awesome mech. Lastly, we have the AWS 10 KM Cameron, which was used by Cameron St. James for Operation Scour. Now, this one is another mixed tech mech. It's a version of the KM, but it takes off the heavy PPCs and it replaces them with a pair of clan ER PPCs. It also has an improved C3 computer and a advanced targeting computer. So this is a super advanced, super good mech. Really, really cool. Again, if you're deciding to use some of the custom mechs. So again, though, my personal favorite, keeping it fairly simple, is the 9Q. I'm a big fan of the 9Q. I think it's a great mech for PPCs, is nothing to sneeze at in the clan invasion time period. And actually, this is still a decent tech in later time periods. I have no problem using it during the Civil War. And it does start to hurt a little bit once you hit the Jihad era because of the more advanced, heavy PPCs that come out. I have no problem using this in the clan invasion time period or the Civil War time period. And again, you can still use it even in the later time periods. So I'm going to give you a recommendation on a pilot for this mech, on a mech warrior that I would put in the AWS 9Q since he is my personal favorite. So now, for this particular pilot, you'll have to be agreeing to use 4 cost pilots as long as you and your opponent are playing a game where you're agreeing to spend 4 on a pilot. I would recommend Miran Carpathia. Now, Miran Carpathia is a pilot that normally pilots a Warhammer mech, but if you put them in the cockpit of an awesome 9Q, an AWS 9Q, they're going to be even better, and here's why. So they have 2 abilities. The first one is Human TRO, which gives them a +1 modifier when rolling to determine critical hits, which is great, especially with all the firepower you're going to be dishing out with this thing. And then the second one is they are a Weapon Specialist PPC. So now, a Weapon Specialist PPC on a Warhammer is pretty decent with its 2 PPCs, but with 4 PPCs on an AWS 9Q, it's twice as good. So now, that means you get a -2 on the hit modifier when attacking with PPCs. So you are going to be super accurate with your particle projector cannons in the Awesome if you pilot it with Miran Carpathia. Now, Miran Carpathia's stats are 3 on gunnery and 2 on piloting. Keep in mind that your opponent is going to get to give a 3 on gunnery and a 2 on piloting to one of their own mech warriors for you taking this. But then, you know what? You're going to get to improve one of your other mech warriors based on the stats of whichever pilot they choose. So now let's talk about a sample lance that I would recommend using with the AWS 9Q, which is my favorite, again, of the canon versions of the Awesome. So this is a lance meant to be used during the clan invasion time period, and I think in this time period, it's very powerful. So this is a 6,000 battle value lance. It actually comes in a little bit under 6,000. You've saved a few points. So you'd want to be agreeing to do a 6,000 battle value clan invasion time period lance with a 4 cost mech warrior added in with your opponent to use this lance. For this lance, we are going to be doing a fire lance to attempt to use the fire lance's special ability as released in the new rulebook from the clan invasion starter box. So to do a fire lance, you have to have at least 75% of the mechs in this lance have to be either missile boats or snipers. Now again, remember the AWS 9Q is a sniper mech, so it already fits in that role. Now alternatively, you can have all of your mechs be missile boats, and that'll automatically just work for it no matter how many mechs are in this formation. So even if you're playing this formation as a clan player and you only have 2 mechs, you can just have them both be missile boats and you're fine. Now the bonus ability is at the beginning of each turn, up to 2 of your mechs can use the sniper ability. Now the sniper ability is absolutely awesome because the sniper ability has the target modifier due to range cut in half, meaning that you only get a +1 difficulty modifier at medium range rather than the normal +2, and only a +2 at long range rather than the normal +4. Now this is amazing with this mech because again, remember, you want to be firing at range. You want to be crippling some of those enemy forces before they even close the distance with you. So that's why I decided to go with the fire lance formation for the AWS 9Q. So what other mechs do I have to fill it out? So first off, I wanted to focus in on getting some other mechs that were either missile boats or snipers, so I could have the 75% of the 4 mechs in the 6,000 battle value lance that fulfill the requirements of the Firestar. But because I want to have a nice big surprise mech, a second assault mech in this lance, I'm going to try to keep the other 2 fairly low on their battle value. in regard to the mechs that I use to finish out the requirement of 3 either missile boats or sniper mechs. The first of the other mechs I am adding to the Lance is another missile boat mech to help satisfy the requirements of the Fire Lance, and it is the Raptor RTX 1-0. It is the basic Raptor. Now, it only comes in at 721 battle value. It is a missile boat, and it is a super fast one with a very interesting role that I'm planning to use it for in this Lance. So you're going to have your fairly slow, because remember, it's only a walking 3, running 5 mech. Awesome. Walk forward, find a nice spot in a forest, hold up where it can see most of the battlefield and start firing. This Raptor is going to take a flank. It's going to run around high speed on the flank because it has a walking speed of 7, a running speed of 11. It's very light armored. Its center armor only has 8 armor points, which is not much. So you're going to have to be careful. You're going to have to watch out for enemy fire, but you're going to stay fast and you're going to stay at fairly long range because it has 3 LRM-5s. And if you're able to get around the flank and rear of an enemy mech after firing while running around them with those LRM-5s, you can close the distance. And when you get into more medium range, you have a pair of medium lasers. And if you get into close range, you also have a pair of small lasers and a machine gun. This light mech actually has a lot of firepower for its size, and outflanking your enemy's lance could really cause some concern for them because they'll get worried about you running in and unloading on their rear with the Raptor, which in close range can actually unload quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, if they turn around to try to deal with the Raptor, then they are presenting their rear to your Awesome, who will slam it with all of its 4 PPCs. Now, the next mech I added to the group is a mech to stand in the back with the Awesome, maybe a little further away, and also to maybe try to find a nice spot in a heavy forest and sit there and play turret tech and just snipe at the enemies. And that is the Hollander. So the Hollander BZK-F3 is a mech that is very focused in on its role. It is a sniper mech, and it is just one Gauss rifle on legs. Basically, it was a mech that was designed to be the smallest mech possible that you could fit a Gauss rifle on. Now, that makes it a very focused mech, and it means that it is one that you're going to want to protect as much as possible. And it's not super fast for a light mech either. It's only got a walking speed of 5 and a running speed of 8. You're probably going to want to try to get it into a nice heavy forest and then just sit there and fire off with those sniper shots with the Gauss rifle. But in a Fire Lance, it actually makes a fairly decent mech to choose to possibly use the ability of the sniper on the Hollander, because it'll make that Gauss rifle very likely to hit. At the very least, it's one to use on the Hollander if the last mech in the group has managed to make it down to medium or close range and doesn't really need it anymore. And the last mech I have in this Lance is the one that you would give the boosted stats of shooting and piloting skill rolls to from your opponent's pilot, and that is the Atlas AS7-S2. So the AS7-S2 is a phenomenal assault mech. The Atlas, of course, is generally known as one of the best super heavy inner sphere mechs. We're talking 47 armor in its center torso, 32 on each side torso, 34 in each arm, and 41 in each leg. 100 tons of walking death, and it's armed with a heavy Gauss rifle, which can do unbelievable damage at medium or short range. 20 damage at medium, 25 at short. It's got a Guardian ECM suite, an LRM-15 with an Artemis 4 fire control system, which means even more of those missiles are going to hit their targets, and 2 ER large lasers, because you know what, it just didn't have enough firepower with those other guns. It needed a little bit more. This thing is brutal, and it is deadly at every range. So while your Hollander and your Awesome stand back and your Raptor flanks around the side, this is going to go right towards the target. You want it to walk up, kick, punch, and slam into the ground and unload all of its guns on. And again, you're going to want to give the boosted stats from your opponent's mech warrior to this mech, because boosting up its piloting stat will be very beneficial to keeping it standing while firing that heavy Gauss rifle, because don't forget, firing a heavy Gauss rifle means every round you're going to be needing to take a piloting skill roll. But this thing is awesome. It's got some great firepower for long range with the LRM-15, and then at medium range when it starts engaging with those ER large lasers and the heavy Gauss rifle, this thing is going to be ripping other mechs in half. It's going to have some nice covering fire from the Awesome and the Hollander, and a flanking distraction from the Raptor to round out this really awesome, really cool Lance, which gets the Firestar Lance qualifications, and therefore can actually have 2 of its mechs fire using the sniper ability every round, which is great. This is going to be a really fun Lance to use, and I highly recommend it. Now, for the final thing, I would like to talk about a custom variant that would be really cool to use, really fun to use with an Awesome. So if you are playing with the mech design rules allowing you to make custom variants of mechs, I have designed a custom variant that I call the AWS KIWF-1. Now, this is made by a custom mech redesign engineering firm called KIWF, which is named after its 4 founders. The letters are each of the first letters of their last names, but has been affectionately nicknamed Kill It With Fire. This mech is a redesign of the Awesome 9Q. So we have removed the small laser, we have removed the Guardian ECM suite, we don't need any of that, and we've removed all 4 of the ERPPCs. This is a bit of a radical redesign to allow this mech to take on a slightly different role. We replaced the 4 PPCs with 4 plasma rifles. So this mech needs to be played in a later time period. It is meant to be played in a much later time period because, again, the plasma rifles don't come out until at least the Civil War era. So this is going to be Civil War or Jihad era mech to use, but in those time periods, this mech works great. Now, in addition, of course, we had to load up some ammo, so I managed to get a total of 6 tons of ammo for a total of 60 shots with those plasma rifles. So this will have a difficulty that, of course, the 9Q did not have, in that you are limited on your ammo. Of course, the 9Q can fire its PPCs all day. In a larger game, in a longer game, this will eventually start to run out of ammo. But with 6 tons of ammo, it's not bad. You will take a long time to run out. Now, these plasma rifles do as much damage as PPCs, though their max range is dropped down to 15. So it is a little bit of a shorter range. However, you also have the addition of creating heat on your target as the plasma burns and heats up the mech. Meaning that when firing at mechs that have heat issues themselves, like energy weapon mechs with tons of lasers and PPC variants and things like that, you are going to cause those mechs to overheat and possibly shut down. Doing so can be incredibly useful, because if a big energy boat mech, like say a Black Knight, or even an enemy Awesome, gets shut down in the middle of the battlefield, you can take a turn to fire at that stationary target and just wipe it out. In addition, when fighting against enemy vehicles, instead of causing heat, these plasma rifles do extra damage. This thing will rip apart enemy vehicles, enemy tanks, etc. really easily. So yeah, the AWS KIWF-1 is my contribution to the Awesome. I think it's a really cool platform to use for plasma rifles on. So there you have it. That is my takeaway from the Awesome and all of its variants. Also, again, a suggested Lance and a suggested custom variant. Let me know what you guys think on my ideas for the Awesome, as well as what you think on the Awesome. Which is your favorite version of the Awesome? Comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.